Zara Larsson is killing it. Since dropping Midnight Sun, she's collected her first top 10 hit in America that went #1 globally with Stateside, with PinkPantheress of course. Gold medalist Alyssa Liu immortalized it on the ice. Lush Life, a song that is already 10 years old, is now in the top 40 thanks to going viral again. Even Midnight Sun hit 39 on the charts. To celebrate all of this, she's dropped Midnight Sun Girls Trip, a star-studded victory lap that is right in time for the summer. You guys know the drill. I'm going to discuss everything so far, give my honest thoughts on the record before going track by track and assigning a score. So here are my overall thoughts. Midnight Sun Girls Trip marks Zara's first ever remix album. It runs at 34 minutes, it has 10 tracks, and features an all-girls lineup that isn't limited to PinkPantheress, Kalani, the iconic Shakira, Tyla, Madison Beer, and fellow Swedish superstar Robyn. Larsson has been teasing this project for months. She collaborated with Tyla on She Did It Again, and she surprised fans at PinkPantheress' set during Coachella. This album was properly released last month and follows in the wake of a remix album resurgence. Charli XCX had the remarkable Brat remix record back in 2024, as did PinkPantheress with Fancy Some More last year. Pink's record had actually spawned that Zara remix of Stateside, which has led to all of this. So Pink coming back for Midnight Suns was a full circle moment. But to be compared to those two remix albums, Girls Trip feels a little bit more supplemental than transformative. I think it's a cute collection of tracks, but I only felt a couple of these remixes top the original counterpart. Midnight Sun as a record just felt so distinctly Zara that I was curious to see how some of these features would adapt to fit her world. Margot XS, Helena Gao, and MNEK were the core producers on the original and now Girls Trip. They reworked these tracks to give the features some room to shine and fit into that world. PinkPantheress did co-produce her remix of the title track, which explains why I think it is probably the strongest of these new takes. On that one, much like the Stateside remix, it just feels like a real musical conversation. You can hear Pink go for that now iconic vocal run of Zara's, but her signature sounds throughout never really drown out Zara, but rather coexist with them. This record contains some obvious, ready summer smashes. I expect to hear JT and Margot XS's killer Pretty Ugly remix at clubs all season long. Shakira's feature on Euro Summer was just so obvious and natural, it almost feels like a fleeting daydream. Hot and Sexy with Tyla, that's a hit. It reminds me of how wild the original was not a smash. But honestly, weirdly enough, I really like the slower tracks the best. Saturn's Return with Malibu and Helena Gao is an exceptional standout. The decision to stretch it out into this transcendental ambient track with a little bit of Chinese in there. It is bold, and it is kind of what I really wanted more of. Other remixes on this record tend to play it a little bit safer, which kind of speaks to the quality of the original tracks more than anything. But my favorite element of this record so far has to be the self-aware lyrical change-ups that Zara does. I felt like she wasn't lazy. She embraced making new verses alongside her features, and she adds some insights into her mindset. This is especially clear on the remix of The Ambition, which is a follow-up to the original track's raw observations about the state of her career. In just less than a year's time, Zara has achieved so much of what she wants, but she still yearns for more despite knowing that she's made it. Coupled with Madison Beer's heartbreaking verse about starting similarly so young at 13, it's a nice coda to all of these hot girl shenanigans. I felt like the original record was so sonically cluttered, and I had embraced that as a charming quirk or a tribute to those Europop Y2K sounds, and this record is just a little bit more chaotic and intentional about that. I can respect the gusto of that, but I will say that if you hated Midnight Sun, you will probably hate this one more. But even her detractors need to recognize that Larsson's success is owed to her commitment to always doubling down and going for the swing even when misses are sure to happen. Girls Trip is uneven, but it is a lot of fun. It is not as good as its source material, but I do recommend at least giving it one spin at least. And now here's my quick track-by-track observation. Midnight Sun with PinkPantheress, absolutely a moment. Much like how Zara kept her voice on Stateside, Pink retains all of the unique elements of her own work. Her verse focuses on the sensations of what she's experiencing. Zara tells us about this grand phenomenon, but Pink is showing us her point of view. She's traveling the world, but then she's suddenly hit by the midnight sun. She even tries to do her own take on the iconic vocal run, which I thought was such a sweet and nice moment. The outro and the drum and bass sample of DJ Fresh's Gold Dust really adds a shimmer to this staple song. Blue Moon with Kehlani reimagines that track as a more proper sultry R&B smash. Zara's always had the right voice for the genre. I think the lower register is so smooth. I would love her to do a full-on album in that genre, and I love the fact that she redid her vocals on this rather than just being lazy. Kehlani is perfection as always. I think her vocals are rich enough to spread over the track just right. Her verse and the ad-libs add a warmth that I felt was missing to this track before they end this track in a way that kind of like begs for a repeat. Pretty Ugly with JT and Margot XS builds atop the original. The instrumental has a new coat of paint that's a little bit rougher, but it does fit JT's vibe. JT shouts out Stockholm Syndrome Sinners in the thong song. I also dug that she got to do this screeching halt of a pre-chorus that allows you to really embrace that switch up at the end. I love the chorus. It is still one of the best on the record. Girls Girl with Amelia really reconfigures that original track. I felt like the original was always about not stealing a friend's man, whereas this one is about how women are expected to be docile and cute and friendly when they do want to win just as bad as the men. The new verse speaks about her nice girl image, but she is trying to go #1. She even hints at the Hannah Diamond jacking her poster girl style. That whole debacle. Amelia's verse backs this by saying that if she was a man, they'd forget about her issues in 2 days and she's just had enough. I think it's a really cool remix of the meaning. Crush with Eli keeps the song relatively light and sweet. It features Eli, a trans artist who is on the rise, and she kills her verses in that bridge. She shouts out Harry Daniels, who himself is a part of Zara's lore for those of you who have been fans for a long time. I just really dug the switch up at the end on the outro. The original's instrumental was fine, but this one had a more conventional pop sound to it that hit me in the heart nostalgically. It feels almost classic. Euro Summer with Shakira is a dream collab. It is the perfect song for the legendary artist to just jump on. I felt like her voice along with Zara's had a very solid chemistry there. The instrumental has a slight shift where I felt like the drums hit a little bit harder than they did originally, and that synthy core melody gets to shine more. Shakira's verse felt refreshingly personal. She's talking about her post-divorce life. She's coming back from the pain. She's talking about the nightclub, the beach, the breeze, the night. This Euro Summer is something that she needs, and I just adore the bridge with her vocals on it. I think this is everything. Hot and Sexy with Tyla, that needs to be pushed to the radio stat. I love the original, but Tyla outdoes herself on this. I've always loved Tyla. I think she is the next big thing, even though her team is kind of dropping the ball. Her verse is just so personalized and tailored to her sound and style while remaining cohesive. The little touches on changing the number plate and the area code were adorable. I just also love that they kept the switch up at the end on the original, where they just get to do one last swipe. Zara talking about TMZ and her talking about not being in their prime but being prima donnas. Diva moment. The ambition with Madison Beer and Bambi was really well done. Zara's new lines about finally getting that worldwide #1 but still wanting another one serve as a sequel to her thoughts from last time. Her life has changed, but she's bored because this ambition of hers, it consumes her being. Madison's verse hit hard, particularly because she has yet to, in my opinion, hit her stride despite starting so young and having so much talent. She herself, she's still waiting for that moment. Zara notes on the bridge that she's chasing after herself all this time. She just cannot compete with this ambitious girl inside of her. It's very inspirational, but it's also tragic. Saturn's Return with Malibu and Helena Gao is a revelation. I love this one. I've seen people hate this. The track kind of starts off by faking you out into thinking that it's going to be like the original, but then Helena's voice kicks in and we start to realize this is going to be something trippy. The track then just veers off into this ambient and meditative thing that sounds like a trip through the cosmos themselves. Helena ends this track with some spoken Chinese word about how life is not arranged or controlled. No one chooses to be born, but fate can protect us. We are lucky to be alive. It's something that feels very profound and beautiful, and something that I needed to hear. I just turned 30 recently, guys. I needed this. It closes again on Puss Puss with Robyn, which is a love letter to Sweden. It opens with Robyn calling her in their native tongue. Zara's original verse remains mostly intact, but then we get to Robyn's. Robyn's verse mixes both of their language as she talks about the Swedish dream and references her latest record, Sex Existential, which I covered recently. She also adds something really just flirty and playful. It's almost a mature touch to the song's sickeningly sweet double entendre, and then they both let loose on that bridge, and the album closes on a really lovely note. I think overall, Girls Trip is a very fun project that celebrates Zara's breakthrough record and moment right now. While it isn't as tight as the original, it's not a lazy cash grab. So much thought was put into who went on what track, and I do think it soars at times, and then kind of like even the worst moments are still pretty decent. Zara has undeniably made it. How she follows all of this up is going to be really interesting to see unfold, but for now we can enjoy this Midnight Sun. I am happy to give it a 7.4 out of 10. And that's a wrap on my review of Midnight Sun Girls Trip. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this remix record. I've seen a lot of people have very interesting takes on this album, whether or not they found it good or bad. I love just reading below and creating a forum for you guys to discuss music. So let me know what your favorite track was, or if you didn't like it. A quick shout out to my members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. A shout out to my subscribers. I love all of you guys. And a shout out for my Substack, where you can get written versions of these reviews and more insights about the industry. I think I'm going to do a short piece about my trip to Japan, as well as a thing about touring and concerts. I can't wait to see you guys next video, and thank you so much for being patient with me while I come back to this channel.